Hello everyone, this is Ivan Fulyun, aka Tony 2 cents for the 220 at 220generation.com. I am doing a series called Youth Ministry 101, where you can learn the ins and outs and everything on how exactly to do youth ministry and be successful at it. This specific message or this specific teaching is actually I might be treading on eggshells here, but I think it's a very important thing to do. And I call it my message to the senior pastor. And if you're a youth pastor, I encourage you to send the link to this video to your senior pastor anonymously, or tell him that you're sending him something and let him go through this video because it's important for you. Pastors, senior pastors, I'm issuing this video because I feel we are entering a prophetic stage, especially in South Africa and all over the world, where we are entering a season of revival, where young people are going to burst forth with the love and the passion and fire for God that is unprecedented and never had been documented before. I want to make some notes, suggestions, and tell you some things that you do to your youth pastors that you need to look at. Because we need youth workers, youth facilitators, and youth pastors in this era or this season of revival we are going to go into. And for them to be effective, they need to be happy, they need to be prosperous, they need to be encouraged. And most youth pastors, one, don't appreciate them, and two, don't encourage and sow into their lives with time and a lot of stuff. I'm going to mention a lot of stuff. I've written some thoughts down. This teaching or this portion of Youth Ministry 101 might reach over 2 or 3 sessions. I want you to please humbly lend me your ear and listen attentively and look into your heart and see if some of these things that you can do or change to make your youth pastor happy, because we can't lose youth pastors at this moment. We can't lose youth leaders that are currently working. I'm equipping them with everything that I can. But I need you to do your part. First of all, do you have an agreement with your youth pastor? If there's not, make one. Sit with your youth pastor and talk to him about the youth ministry. What do you expect of him? There should be a mutual agreement between you two. The Bible talks about mutual agreement between people that creates unity. And Psalm 133, we know in verse 1 and 3, it says unity brings power and blessings into the church. You need that. If you do not have an agreement, you will constantly be on different pages, and there will be animosity and enmity between you and your youth pastor, and you need to function as one, because he's the youth pastor of your church. Do you pay him a salary? Now, I know some youth pastors, like for instance myself, at this moment, I'm serving as a youth pastor in that function without getting paid. And I like it like that. I proposed it like that to my senior pastor. I work in a secular environment. The youth pastor of Hatfield Christian Church, I believe, is also working like that. They're working secular jobs like Paul did, making tents, looking after themselves. And because they love young people and because they love youth ministry, they are working in youth ministry because that's their calling. I'm doing everything to make sure the youth pastor is in check. I want you to check these couple of things. If you have ordained him and your agreement is that you are paying him a salary, there's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. Are you expecting him to live by faith? That's the biggest lot of hogwash I've ever heard in my life. Yes, we should live by faith. But you, as a senior pastor, should honor your youth pastor and his work in your church by paying him not only a salary, but a decent, good salary. You cannot afford to lose your youth pastor at this time because he comes short. Don't tell me he doesn't live by faith. He does. But he is a little mini-me of you what faith is concerned. You can trust God for millions, probably. But he is only at a stage where he can trust God for thousands, maybe 10,000s. Remember, precept upon precept. God's ways are not our ways. So you need to honor him by paying him a salary that is worth. Salaries going around, I believe in America is about $40,000 to $45,000 a year is fair. In South Africa, I think the same in rands, about 8,000 rand a month is good. That's what they should be. I want to talk to you about driving your youth pastor like a slave. Don't drive him like a slave. He's not a slave. He's a servant. Even though you pay him. He's a servant of God, not a slave of Egypt. Remember that. So, if you have an agreement with him, there should be a contract between you two that you both agree to the terms and you signed it. And don't put stuff in that contract that's going to discourage him. My previous church where I didn't sign the contract because this contract was one-sided and unfair. And God gave me favor that I didn't have to sign it. But listen to this. If you have a working contract, if you are paying your youth pastor salary, this is how it works. You probably have a contract, and if you have a contract, you are bound by law, and he can take you to the CCMA if he wants to. It's not the godly thing to do, but God put laws in place so that we don't stray away from his ways. Jesus said, I have come not to abolish the law and the prophets, but to establish it, to fulfill it. So laws still work. Don't think that you cannot work according to the law of the land. The law of the land and what working conditions, all those laws and the regulations are set there to protect the worker. So sign a contract. It's good to protect you and your youth pastor. And don't let him work more than 40 hours a week, because that's standard work week. Some of you let your pastor come in on Monday, he works on Tuesday, there's meetings with the elders at night, you let him work for Thursday and Friday. Friday's youth, he does extracurricular activities which you don't know about. He socials with the young people, and then you expect him to be there Sunday, Saturdays and 2 services on Sundays, or 3 services. Don't be crazy. Don't drive your youth pastor and let him burn out. Honor God by letting your youth pastor be a servant and let him work 40 hours a week. He's probably married. He needs to spend time with his family. Don't drive your youth pastor away by driving him like a slave. It's very important, pastors. I'm mentioning this because it's an issue all around, right through the board, and we need to look at that. Another thing, I spoke about this just now. Are you treating you need to establish this, the relationship between you and your youth pastor. Is he an employee or is he a servant? If he's an employee, pay him. If he's a servant, then honor him. You know, he has lots of, what shall I say? He's lots of expenses. He drives to church every day. Or he pays his own petrol. Yes, he might have a sponsor, but you know, if you live by faith, but you have the opportunity to sow into his life. 2 questions I want to ask yourself. Why did I hire an individual? Why am I hiring him? Why am I paying him? If you have gotten that behind you and you know why you're doing that, then honor that thing that you said to yourself. Why do I have him on my payroll? Also, honor the salaries. Don't pay late. Pay him on time. He's also a person who has a family, or he has a mortgage, or he has to pay his rent. If you pay him late, he's in trouble with his landlord, and he is in the wrong. And you don't want to be the one creating an offense in someone else's life. The Bible talks about that. You know that. Also honor the payment days. Pay him on time. If your agreement in the contract is paid 25th, pay him on the 25th. In fact, pay him on the 24th so that his money is in on the 25th. Because if you pay him on the 24th, you're from First National Bank and he's at ABSA. If you pay him on the 25th, his money is only through on the 26th. So you've actually paid him on the 26th. There's a lot of stuff that we need to look at. Also, in the contract and in your agreement that you talk about, please put an increase in there. Don't let your youth pastor work for 2, 3, 4 years on the same salary. And then when he goes from being youth pastor to being one of the area pastors, keep him on the youth pastor salary. That's disgusting, really. I'm talking straight because I believe God wants me to do this. This is Ivan Viljoen for the 220 at 220generation.com. And this teaching is carrying on in the second session. God bless.